Electrocast.
I was 16 when I started actually managing people, kind of in a foreman sense. I had the work experience from a young age, and I just would have to make sure that everybody was ready and make sure that they're going through the day and they have all the supplies they need. So it really taught me how to plan ahead and be resourceful. And I think that learning that at a younger age than a lot of people do really set me up for success as I started moving towards my professional career.
Welcome to Think Business with Tyler, sharing our methods and strategies for success. Join in on our conversations with business owners as we highlight their triumphs and detail how they overcame the challenges they faced while continuing to grow and scale their business. It's time to think life, think success, and think business with your host, Tyler Martin.
Have you ever struggled with keeping your business's cash flow in check? Or faced the daunting task of managing operations while staying ahead of demand? If you're nodding in agreement, today's episode is tailor-made for you. We're diving into the story of an entrepreneur who not only faced these exact challenges, but turned them into opportunities for growth and innovation. By leveraging cutting-edge technologies like AI and automation, he transformed a simple welding business into a thriving manufacturing enterprise, catering to the excavation construction industry. Today, he's here to share his invaluable insights on how to streamline operations, manage cash flow effectively, and create a culture of openness that empowers every employee to contribute to the company's success. So buckle up and get ready to uncover the secrets behind operational efficiency and sustainable growth. Hey, Roggen, welcome to the Think Business with Tyler podcast show. How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good. Thanks for asking. I've been looking forward to talking with you. You've got a kind of a fun story. Before I get into it, I'd love to know first what you do professionally, if you'd share that, and then what you like to do personally. If there's some personal things that you enjoy doing, I'd love to learn a little bit there too.
Yeah. So professionally, I have a welding business that's kind of transitioning into a manufacturing business. We make some different products for the construction industry, specifically like excavation construction. And then on the personal side of my life, I actually race motocross.
Wow.
Which is a very extreme sport, but it's really fun, very exciting, keeps my life bright and interesting.
So these are like dirt bikes going over hills type of thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's funny because that's actually kind of the whole reason I got into this business in the first place actually has to do with just trying to find a shop to have for my dirt bike and a way to be able to do that.
Wow. Don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but I'll never forget. I've had a buddy that was really into that, and he always talked about how when people crash, it could, it obviously could have some like serious type injuries. Does that ever scare you, or has that ever even happened?
It has happened, and it actually put a hold on this business at one point.
Really?
And I understand the risks of it, and I try to ride within my skill level. I've learned lessons there to try to make sure that I'm safe as possible. But yeah, it's definitely a dangerous sport.
You like the thrill, clearly.
I definitely do, yes.
More power to you. I'll sit behind my desk. I think that's right now working for me. It seems relatively injury-free. Hey, so I do want to kind of get in your story. So I'd love to hear the story. There's 2 points that I know about you that I think are like aha moments for me. Like one was you were age 3 and you're actually operating heavy equipment. Let's talk about that a little bit. How does that even happen?
Yeah, so my dad, my whole life, has been an entrepreneur. When I was born, he had a construction company, and he used to close and safeguard abandoned mines for the state of Colorado. He was a contractor that did that. And so I grew up, we had heavy equipment outside our house, and he would let me operate it just for fun. And so I've got a lot of experience from a young age, just learning different trades just because I've been around it. I've been growing up with it. And wow. I've done it my whole life. And that's where I learned how to operate equipment, where I got an interest in construction, and how I learned how to weld as well.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit, not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
How to operate equipment, where I got an interest in construction, how I learned how to weld as well.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean,
I don't know about at 3, but what young kid wouldn't want to be driving around in one of these, like, big old pieces of machinery? That must be kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like it's like every kid's dream, right? Playing with the little toys in the sandbox, then actually getting to operate it. And they have some cool programs like that, like Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers. They put on a deal where you can bring your kid and put them on the lap of a equipment operator, and they'll teach them how to run the excavator and let them dig some holes. It's a pretty cool event that they do.
That is pretty cool. That's awesome. And then, like, kind of next point in your life that I think is interesting is you started managing crews at a young age. How did that come to be, and what was that like? At what age were you, and what was that like?
So I was 16 when I started actually managing people, kind of in a foreman sense. And it has to do with my dad running his own businesses. He had me helping out in the summer. So I had the work experience from a young age. And then when it was time that I had a vehicle and I could actually go from job to job, well, he sent me up there and he said, this is what we need to do. And so we usually have like 2 or 3 people on a crew, and it's usually like a welding operation, pretty straightforward. And I just would have to make sure that everybody was ready and make sure that they're going through the day and they have all the supplies they need. And these jobs are up in the mountains of Colorado, so it's not like you have all the supplies that you need on time. So it really taught me how to like plan ahead and be resourceful. And I think that learning that at a younger age than a lot of people do really set me up for success as I started moving towards my professional career.
Very cool. Did you find, 16 and you're foreman of probably much older people?
Yeah.
I mean, to some degree, you were the dad's son, so I'm sure you got a certain amount of respect just because of that. But did you find people weren't kind of buying into sometimes you being the foreman?
Luckily with it being a smaller company, some of the people that we had working for us were a little bit more laid back. So I think that they didn't have too big of an issue with it. But funny enough, like when I started moving into construction management, got my degree in that, and started running crews at an older age, that's actually when people started questioning my age a little bit more.
at an older young age, just not so young.
At an older young age.
It is true. I when I ran my second business, I would hire relatively young people at times, and this is when I say relatively mid-20s, and they were interacting with 40-year-old managers oftentimes, and it was hard. I mean, for them, I really I had to coach them a lot in terms of, hey, don't let that be a mental block, because they had their own mental block that how people were perceiving them. And what I found, if you're great at what you do, that age barrier goes away really quickly. Like, people don't care nearly as much, or even it doesn't even enter their mind that much if you're good at what you do.
Yeah, I think it's breaking through that like initial stigma of like, okay, this person's young, they probably don't know anything, or like, how are they going to tell me how to run this operation or do this job? But once you prove yourself, then you'll find that you get a lot of respect from people. But it's just that initial part, and we deal with that wherever we're at in life for different reasons. And it's just something that you have to overcome with your workers and try not to hold it against them, because, you got to look at it from like their perspective. Oh, I've been doing this for 30 years. And now all of a sudden this 20-year-old kid's going to come out of college and tell me how to build this building or build this thing.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into the story. And what really attracted me to learn more about your story is you're working for your dad. And then I think you went off to college, and your dad kind of had his main business, and then he kind of had something that was a side hustle. And tell me that story where I'm not sure if it's you saw opportunity or you made it into an opportunity that was more than just a side hustle.
Yeah. So when I went off to college, I went to do construction management, and that's where the dirt bike part comes in. I wanted to take my dirt bike with me to school, but I need a place to put it. Need to be able to have a place to work on it. And so I needed a shop, and he said, hey, we built a couple of these rock screens and we've been sending them to auction. Why don't you just get a shop, and then you can weld those up and we can sell those, and then you can pay for your shop that way. I was like, okay. So I had a dirt bike that I had put back together, rebuilt the engine on it, and I sold it. And that got me my first month's rent in the shop. So I got the shop and then started building some of these screens with the intent to send them to auction. But I was like, I can probably build a website and probably market these online a little bit and maybe get some more sale. That way I can have some more money, because it'd be nice to be not a broke college student and actually have some money to be able to buy food and do some different things that I want to do. So I started getting some more demand, and then pretty soon I needed to hire some help. So I found another student at CSU or Colorado State University that was in the engineering program. I said, "Hey, how about you come help me cut the steel, and I'll do the welding, and I'll run the sales." And so it kept going, and then all of a sudden I'm getting like demand like crazy. Pretty soon I'm in a bigger shop. I got a 4-bay shop now. I have 2 part-time employees. I got a forklift, and I'm like actually running a full business here. I'm doing all the accounting myself. I'm doing all the marketing, selling. I'm even doing the deliveries because I didn't know how to do shipping at the time and how to put it out on load boards. And so I'm like driving all over the place. And then it's like getting a little bit too much overwhelming. I'm like, okay, well, my classes are starting to suffer a little bit. And should I go with this business or should I go with school? I'm sitting here trying to make the decision. That's when I actually had an accident on my motorcycle. I wrecked it, had a little bit of a back injury. Not, I walked out of the hospital, everything was fine, but enough that I couldn't pick up steel and be a welder anymore. And so that's why I'm like, okay, well, life made the decision for me. Let's just set this business down. I'll just continue with school. So then my whole intent was to just continue with construction management, go get a good job at a good construction company, and that's going to be my life. So fast forward a couple of years, I'm working for a company called FCI Constructors in Colorado, being a project engineer, starting to learn the construction management process and starting to manage some decent projects for them. And then my dad, he's been on and off with large construction companies. He was went back and forth between being an entrepreneur and working for companies like Kiewit throughout his life. And he said, I don't want to be, at the time he was in Louisiana working like 7 days a week, 12 hours a day on this liquid natural gas project. And he said, I don't want to do this anymore. So he's like, the rock screen thing that you had going on there, like, I think that we could probably turn this into a legitimate business. What do you think? I was like, I mean, I'm not even advertising that heavily and I'm getting, it was doing well. I think we could do this. So he quit his job and he went full-time, started running the operations of the business. And I was still working construction. I said at nighttime or on the weekends, I'll focus on building the website, doing the marketing and making sure that you have the sales. That way you can keep some welders employed. And so we started doing that. It started to grow a little bit more. And then he got an operations manager in place and the demand was there. And then it was like, I should go in on this too. I should put all of my time into this business because if I dedicate myself to this business, I think that we can turn it into something legit, even more than what it already is. So I quit working for FCI and now we expanded our product lines. We've expanded our presence. We've gotten our shipping figured out. And now we've shipped to all 50 states. We've exported to some different countries. And it's like definitely seemed to be the right move for me. I'm liking my schedule a lot better.
Yeah, that's awesome. So these are big, heavy, like they sit on top of like, is it, either trucks or even bigger than that, larger trucks? Is that what they are? I mean, explain what they accomplish.
Yeah. So the main product that we sell is the rock screen. And so the intent of it is to screen rocks out of your soil and give you a sizable soil, whether you need sand. And there's a million different reasons why you might want to screen something, anything from recycling to just cleaning contaminated soil with litter, or actually like screening your soil to a certain size that you need for your construction project. And so our screeners are screened for like on the site screening. You set it up and you just take a loader bucket and you dump the soil on top. Big rocks fall out, small stuff falls through. You got clean material. It saves you on trucking and buying material from a gravel pit, because they can get expensive really quick if you have to do that. And so these things usually weigh, depending on the size of them, we make them all the way from a little ride-on skid steer that like a landscaper would use all the way up to some of the biggest loaders that you can buy. And they typically weigh between 1,000 to 3,000 pounds.
Wow. How's the business model work? Do you have these made and then you put them in inventory, or are they like once someone orders them, you then start the manufacturing process and it's kind of just in time type stuff? How do you market that, or how do you do that from a manufacturing standpoint?
In the beginning, it was all made to order. Somebody calls, says, I need this size, because the sizing of the screen is going to be different depending on what someone needs, right? Some people need a 6-inch material. Some people need a 1/4-inch material. So you never know what you're going to get. And so it had a shift when I came on full time, because I said, let's take this and go e-commerce with it. These are a product that people obviously need. There's companies out there that make them, but they're hard to get a hold of. They're hard to get quotes. People are frustrated. So let's just be transparent. Let's just put all the pricing on there, build a website that makes it easy to buy them. So we did that. And then with that, now we're tracking everything, right? We've got everything on a SKU numbering system for every model and variation that you can think of. And so now we can say, okay, the most popular model which is the Cub rock screen, which is for a skid steer. It's got a 3-inch spacing on the main rails. And then usually people buy a 1.5-inch removable screen on top. And so we get insights like that, as well as for all the other products as well. And we can say, okay, now we can build some of these stock and have them ready to go. Because the other thing we learned is that people need these all of a sudden on a construction site. It's something like they dug up something and they didn't expect what was in the ground and they need to get rid of it by next week. And construction's you can't even lose a day sometimes because it might delay your entire project. And so people need them the next day, and you'll get people all the time calling saying, I need this tomorrow. So by being able to use that data to find out what are the most popular models, we can keep some stuff in stock, keep it ready to go. So it's kind of like lean management, in a way, but at the same time, we're still flexible to be able to make whatever a customer might need.
How do you get I envision these as being pretty big and heavy. How do you get them to be able to ship anywhere in the United States? Do you use some type of freight carrier or something, some type of private party?
Yeah. So initially I was doing the deliveries myself. And then after that, we kind of had a small network of people that we knew that were willing to ship them. And it was expensive. And especially when you get people, so they're all manufactured in Colorado, but there's a big demand for them in the Northeast. And so when people are buying them there, it's a lot of money to ship, and it was losing a lot of sales. So we're we got to figure this out. That's where our operations manager came in handy, because we hired him because of his expertise in the shipping industry, not because he actually had experience in manufacturing, because we could teach him the manufacturing part, but none of us know how to do the shipping part. And so he came in and he said, I know how to do LTL shipping. I know how to do FTL shipping. I know how to ship stuff all across the country. And pretty soon our shipping costs are now getting manageable. We're looking at different avenues to ship each product each week, and we're always finding the cheapest way to get them to the customers. But it's usually some of the smaller ones we can ship in just a van trailer. Some of them even go FedEx on a pallet. But the bigger stuff, we have to get in a full flatbed trailer and load them up on there. And so part of our strategy is try to get some loads going in the same direction so we can load out as many on a truck as possible.
If you're a business owner feeling stuck in your business, overwhelmed, responsible for everything that happens, and working long hours, Tyler helps his clients develop processes, hire high-performing team members, and better understand their financial metrics and numbers to allow for a more predictable, less hands-on business. To schedule a free, no-pressure consultation, head to thinktyler.com and click the meeting button. Tyler would love to see if he can help you work on your business, not in your business. Schedule a consultation today at thinktyler.com. Think life, think success, think business.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Part of our strategy is try to get some loads going in the same direction so we can load out as many on a truck as possible.
Got it. But once again, you're kind of fighting time. Someone's out on a job site. They realize they have this need. They need it yesterday. Every day they're losing. So you're probably battling time with how can we also group shipments together. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, probably.
Right. Yeah. Because sometimes you'll get a bunch of sales that need to go to the Southeast. and it's good because you can put them all in one truck. But sometimes you'll get 4 sales in each corner of America, and they all got to go different directions. So we try to just manage our costs on that and try to keep it low. We actually offer some free shipping on some of our products as well, just to be able to make sure that we can offer good value to the customers and that customers know what they're going to be paying for too, because people don't like getting fees tacked on at the end. It says it's $5,000. People don't like when they go to checkout and all of a sudden it's 7
Yeah.
or more. And so
I think I'm hearing you say one of your big business challenges, which you guys sound like you're getting your arms around, and it's showing up probably in the bottom line, is the logistics of getting these big pieces across the United States. What about from like a scale standpoint? Like it seems like a great niche industry or great niche market you're in, but it kind of has limited upside in terms of how much consumption there is of this type of product. Do you envision like anything that might be vertical to the market, or could you obviously have these buyers and they've spent big money? How do I maybe have more opportunity with them?
So the things that we're doing is we're trying to identify what other products that these same customers need that maybe aren't as commonly produced or are just as easily as difficult to procure. And we've managed to find a handful of products. One of our product lines is called a bedding box that's used in trenching operations. It keeps your fill material in the box and you can pull it along the trench while you're doing that operation to keep your soil moving along with you. And then another one that we make is called a concrete washout tub. And so when a concrete truck is done pouring concrete on a site, you can't just wash out the waste and clean out the truck on the ground. The EPA doesn't allow that. And so they want it contained in a bin. And so we make those bins. And so just kind of identifying things like that where we can provide good value to the same customer base. So we don't have to try to reinvent the wheel and try to go market to an entire different demographic. We can just try to sell to the same people. And that's been key to building our business. And something that helps us do that is we put in good systems in place to be able to manage it. So like I said, we're kind of a welding company that's kind of turning into a manufacturing company. And so I want to manage it like a manufacturing company. So I'm putting those systems in place to say, how can we streamline this operation through the shop so it's not, okay, we got to take these measurements and figure this out every time. It's like we know exactly what we need to make and kind of have an assembly line process through our shop. And so we use a system called Fulcrum to manage all of that. It does all of our scheduling. It tracks all of our inventory. And then we can kind of see like what items we're able to make with the stuff that we already purchased, like how much steel are we purchasing of certain sizes. That way we can try to make products out of that. But it also sets us up so that if somebody needs some type of custom manufacturing or custom welded products, we can do that too without having to interrupt the flow of everything else that's going on.
Very cool. What, from a cash flow standpoint, now that you're kind of getting into, or you have been getting into like having some inventory, what's the cash flow look like? Does that create some challenges? Because it seems like there might be a decent cash outlay to have inventory, or what does that mean from a business standpoint?
Yeah. So the cash flows, we've had strains. We've had it like go up and down in the business, and it just kind of depends on who's buying. To keep our operations moving forward, we sell our products up front. Since we're doing e-commerce, right, we can charge right at the time of sale.
Yeah.
We do offer credit to like government entities and very large companies, and that can put a strain on cash flow, and definitely the inventory can as well. We have to be careful with what we're putting into inventory.
Yeah.
We definitely don't want to put a low margin product in inventory, because if it doesn't sell quick enough, well, then it's probably actually losing money out there and it's holding up cash. So we want to try to keep the more profitable products in stock, or the products that are going to have high demand and turn around really quickly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What are, if you give me like even a general range, what type of margins are we talking on something like this, gross profit margins?
So it's really dependent, because we try to do free shipping to offer the same value across the board to everybody. But, it can range from 30 to 50% gross profit.
Yeah, that's pretty. So 50 is obviously nice. If you give me be around that 50 area, but 30 for, I would think, heavy type equipment is, especially with the shipping costs that you're absorbing or building into the price. That's actually decent too overall. Interesting. Wow, very cool business. What about you on a personal level? Like Is there any skills recently that you've learned or anything that you're working on that you say, hey, this is where I want to take myself to the next level?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've had my background has been construction and industry my whole life, and then once we got the operations team set up, and they do such a good job at actually making the products, my whole focus has shifted into being the marketing department, which I've hired a CMO to help me out with that because I'm not an expert in that area, and I'm also being the IT department
Wow.
because I believe that there's a lot of automation that you can do on a computer, right? If it can be done on a computer, especially with like how AI and things are moving forward, eventually it probably can just do it itself. And so I'm seeing myself constantly trying to like learn how to code and learn like JavaScript and learn how to tie softwares together so I don't have to hire more overhead employees to transfer maybe data from Fulcrum, the ERP software, to QuickBooks, the accounting software, or save time with Shopify and getting all that information into the accounting software and making sure that like our sales tax is compliant. So I'm always looking at ways to like, how can I automate those processes or automate like some reports that can give me good insights. And so I'm taking a completely different trajectory than I even intended. And I'm learning new skills in that way.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, automation, especially obviously with our age of AI here, there's so much opportunity, even like in customer service, like with the level of interaction that, you can drive with AI, depending on how much you're comfortable with that interaction with your potential customers. It's just huge. I mean, we're going through such a transformation. It's pretty crazy in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, it develops fast, and it's always got my head thinking about like, how can I incorporate this into my business? And something that people value with us is a real person always answers the phone. And so I'm not going to do that at this stage in the business. I don't think that's the move because our demographic really likes that. They don't like automated systems.
Sure.
But there's a lot of stuff on the back end that you can do with AI. There's a lot of data that you can say, hey, can you give me some insights or areas to look at? Or, trying to identify the source of a lead, by saying, well, we got this information from the lead. Can you figure out where they came from? And so there's definitely good opportunities to do with it. It's just trying to learn how to integrate it is probably the hard part, especially like tying it into other softwares and stuff like that, unless you're a developer.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. That's good. It's a fun thing to work on. What do you see for the opportunity for this particular business? I mean, is this like $100 million business someday? Do you kind of always want to keep it small and kind of family driven? What's your vision?
I see it as, I think the sky's the limit, but if we were going to make it $100 million business, I think we'd have to diversify and either get into some more maybe structural steel and expand upon like the welding part of the business, or expand the manufacturing capabilities of the business and say, okay, well, let's look into maybe rubbers or plastics or wood or whatever it might be and try to identify some other products there. I think that there's definitely a cap in this part of it because it's, like you said, it's very niche. It's a very specific part that needed to be filled in this industry. And so like a lot of the other products that we're trying to bring on to supplement the business and help it grow a little bit are stuff that's commonly available. And so trying to find out other niches is hard. There's only so many out there and most people stumble upon them like what we did.
Right. And the problem is they got to be compatible to some degree too. So it's like that adds another element. If, what's interesting about your business though, is I wonder if there are other companies out there that would go, wow, this would augment our business really well to have this division in it. And I wonder if it could potentially at some point make you guys like a target for acquisition. Would that be something you'd even entertain?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'd definitely be into that because, like it's really like what you make of it, right? Because the company it's down to the processes that they have in place, the culture and the values that you put into the business, and the people that are running it, right? I mean, you could take this business and you could say, you know what? I actually just like their welding department and how they manufacture things. I don't even care about their goods anymore. We just want them to make this product that we need to make, or they could dive more into the e-commerce side if somebody was interested in that and the way that we're, doing e-commerce in a different way, because selling 2,000-3,000 pound products on the internet like this and shipping them directly to your address, that's not something that a lot of people are doing.
Right.
And even Shopify is like, this is very unique. The way you guys are, utilizing our platform.
Yeah, I'll bet. And I mean, there may even be a buyer out there that wants access to the type of customers you're working with that is
Right.
complementary to their business. And that
Right.
could also be potentially a reason that you'd be attracted to them. So yeah, it's interesting. It's a fascinating. It is a fascinating niche, and it's fun how you guys have turned it into a company. And it sounds like you guys are on the right path in terms of continuing to improve and modify your company so you can reach a larger market.
Yeah. Every day we're trying to think about ways how we can improve the current stuff or build upon what we've already done and make it better.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so your website is bareironworks.net, bareironworks.net.
Yes.
If people wanted to reach out to you, anywhere else you'd want them to go, or is that the spot to do it?
That's the best place to reach us. We've got an email on there, got a phone number. We're watching that all the time. And then we actually have a code too to give to your listeners if they want to. If they're in the market for any of our products, they'll get 5% off anything in their cart. They can use code Think Business.
Awesome.
During checkout.
I'll put that in the show notes too, Think Business. I do want to, before I wrap up and close off though, I do want to have your 3 takeaways. So you were kind enough to share with me 3 takeaways. I try my hardest. Sometimes I forget to. I try to end with 3 takeaways. Now you were great to share them up front. I'd like to just kind of pick your brain a little bit on them. Your 3 takeaways that you've learned from being in business are being honest and transparent was the first one. The second one was when there's a problem, don't necessarily focus on the problem, focus on the solution, and then deal with whatever caused that problem or whoever did something wrong on the back end when the time is right. And then the last one is be really open and receptive, asking questions to everyone in the company at all levels, because people have their own perspective and they could teach you something. Anything on those 3? Could you add a little bit of color to those 3?
So the ask questions from everyone is probably a good one to kind of elaborate on because, as a business owner, the more that you grow your organization, the further distance that you have from the person that's bottom of the totem pole or however you want to look at it in your organization chart, right? And so the further that you are away from that operation, the more that you're relying on assumptions or experiences from before the organization was at a certain size. And so an example I have is I always go to the first person in our operation that he's always unloading the steel from the trucks and he's cutting the material. And he's on the other end of the shop where it's got slower internet connection and the tablet that he utilizes to clock in and out of the jobs doesn't always function the right way. Well, I don't necessarily know what he's all going through because when I was in that position, I'm running the whole thing by myself, I'm doing it hands-on. Then the saw I have is different. Everything is completely different from when I used to do that. And so some good insights that he's given us is that the tablets that you're using are causing problems. It's causing us to double clock in. It's giving you bad data. He's showing us some safety things about unloading trucks that other people should be aware of. So he's adding value to the safety part of that. And then he's always coming up with ways to, hey, why are we doing it this way? Why are we cutting the steel in this way when we could cut it in this sequence and make it more efficient? And everybody that works for your company has a different perspective about the company and how it works, and they can provide very valuable insights to you. And I learned that initially in construction because I've always had a background in welding and dirt work. So when I started managing commercial construction projects and I've got to manage electricians or drywallers or whatever it might be, that's where I really learned I've got to rely on the people that are doing the jobs. And I can't think that I know everything.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
That's where I really learned I've got to rely on the people that are doing the jobs. And I can't think that I know everything.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, it is huge. I mean, it's funny how sometimes the perspective of the guy that's got boots to the ground, guy or girl, sometimes companies will be like, "Oh, dude, you know what you're talking about. You're not, you're just the one moving items around. You're not really in the thick of it of managing the business." And I've seen that, and it's sad because you're right. I mean, the people that oftentimes are doing the day-to-day work of it have actually the best view of what's actually happening in your business. Sometimes us as leaders, we're sitting up and thinking we got this greatest business in the world, and we don't realize the inefficiency because we're just not that close to it. So it's cool that you have that self-awareness. And honestly, I'm sure it empowers the team too, because they feel like they have a voice in how to make things better.
Yeah, they do. And then something that we even did, we took that one level further and we said, hey, what if we incentivize these guys to tell us what we're doing wrong? And just by, saying, hey, we're going to recognize people for innovation, and we'll maybe buy you guys some lunches and things like that. All of a sudden, here comes all these little things that are like, oh, this is how we can make this process better, and this is how we can save money here. And they were like all good ideas, but people didn't speak up until you start dangling a carrot in front of them. They're like, oh, yeah. I'll tell you a million ways how you're running your business wrong.
I agree with you. It's definitely the carrot, but I also think, because kudos to you guys, it's people know you care about what they have to say. And so they're going to make more of an effort. I think there's sometimes culture gets built where it's like, I'm not going to say anything because for whatever reason, either they don't think management's listening or they just don't want to take the time out of their daily life. You guys brought a spotlight to it and said, hey, we really do want to hear you. And oh, by the way, we'll buy you lunch or whatever. I think that's how you define cultures. I mean, you create a better culture and empower people, make them feel like they're part of something. So I think that's kudos to you guys too.
Yeah. I would say a company with a toxic culture probably has the most inefficiencies out of any business, just because people don't care about their jobs because they don't want to work there. And they're definitely not going to tell you what you're doing wrong until it's the last day. And they give you the middle finger and storm out and leave you empty handed.
So true. So true. Yeah, that's good stuff. Hey, well, we've run out of time. I so thank you for being on the show. You brought a lot of wisdom. I love hearing kind of your journey from 3-year-old, 16-year-old, and then now to bringing in this division and turning it into a business. I think that's so cool. So appreciate your time. Hope you have a good one. Maybe in the future we can talk again.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. This was a great opportunity and appreciate it.
Awesome.
That's all for this episode of Think Business with Tyler. But we have plenty more resources to help you in your pursuit of business excellence on our website at thinktyler.com. If you'd like to be featured in a future episode of the show, feel free to reach out to us on social media at think_Tyler. We look forward to helping you think life, think success, and think business.